Hi everyone, this is the fifth lecture of week 2, and in this lecture and in the next lecture, so the last 2 lectures, we are going to be talking about Cain and Abel. And just like in previous lectures, if you want to just hear this as an audio, that's fine. Okay. So in these last 2 lectures, we move from Adam and Eve, the first humans who are thusly expelled from the garden, to their children. And like many families today, the children have issues. Okay. Um, to get a recap, right before this, Adam and Eve, 2 people created by God, placed in the garden, urged on by a magical snake, eat from a tree they're not supposed to eat, and get tossed out. As I stated before, at this point in the semester, it is best if you read the biblical texts that are assigned before you watch the videos. Okay. Now, by Genesis 4, we come to what happens to this couple. Okay, and it's a very strange beginning. Okay, and the strangeness is really apparent in the Hebrew, but not as apparent in the English, which, as I have stated before, tends to smooth out any problems or discrepancies in the Hebrew. Okay, so Genesis 4:1 begins this way. Now the man, and this is my translation, now the man knew his wife Eve, okay, and she conceived and bore Cain, okay. The way that you pronounce Cain's name in Hebrew is Cain, okay, and bore Cain, saying, I have produced Kaniti, a man with the help of the Lord. Okay. Now, some of your translations might differ, okay, but even in the English translations, which have flattened out the oddities are still there, okay. And so let's go through them. So the first oddity is, and again, you'll find different translations, okay? But in the Hebrew, it says the man knew his, and the word here is woman, but it's always translated as wife, but okay. His woman Eve, okay? Now, the question is, why does it say the man? And it says ha-adam. Okay, remember, ha means the, it's, it's a definite article. So why does it say ha-adam instead of simply saying Adam? Okay, as we discussed before, Adam can both be the personal name of a person called Adam, or be the term used to describe humanity in general, okay, or a person in general, okay. So why does it say ha-adam instead of simply saying Adam? Okay, so one explanation is, oh, this is a scribal mistake. But the problem with explanations of scribal mistake is that it becomes a kind of easy excuse to, as a way to not explain what's actually going on. Okay, okay, why does it say ha-adam when it could have simply said Adam? Okay. One explanation is that this is not a mistake, but is deliberate. Okay, and it's deliberately the definite article is deliberately there so as to disassociate Adam from what happens. Okay. Remember that the story is about the first murder, the first fratricide, okay? Something that the world has not really ever seen before if you follow the progression of the narratives in the Bible, okay? It could be that the biblical writers did not really, this is not a good event, okay? Perhaps the biblical writers did not want to connect this event and the first murder to Adam, the first creature created by God. Okay, notice how it doesn't have any problems connecting it to Eve, though. Okay, but somebody has to give birth to somebody. Okay, now let's play with this a little bit. If this is not Adam, okay, because it seems to maybe disassociate Adam with what happens and with child Cain that is born. Okay, who is this? Okay, is there somebody, if it's not referring to Adam, is there somebody else around that the ha-adam, the person is referring to? Okay, and with this, who else is around? Okay, and well, your initial answer is, well, no one's around. Okay, this is the first couple. Okay, Possibly, I will say, however, the biblical text, it's a patriarchal text, is written by male scribes, passed down by male editors, and so forth. They don't always describe when women and children are present. Okay, so it could be that. Okay, but that's in this case doesn't matter because we're talking about the man. Okay, um, and sort of early ancient classical interpreters came up with a kind of a nifty solution. These are, early rabbinic scholars or early rabbinic exegetes, okay? And they say, well, maybe there is somebody else, another male being outside of Eden at this time, okay? Anybody remember what that is or who that might be? The serpent. Okay, and remember the serpent was a phallic symbol, so this fits in quite nicely, okay? Like I said, the serpent is not quite the devil yet, okay? But, by the time of these medieval interpreters, ancient classical Christian and Jewish interpreters, he probably has now become the Satan. Okay, so they say, aha, why does it say Ha-Adam, the man, instead of Adam? Well, this is not Adam's kid. Cain is not Adam's kid. Okay, rather this is the kid of Eve and the serpent, i.e. the devil. Now we got like a Rosemary's Baby situation going on, and this is why or how humanity, who has just left the garden, how they get the first murder. Okay, something that the world has not yet ever seen. Okay. And you'll find actually interesting kind of remnants or, a support for this interpretation. So for example, in the Sistine Chapel, okay, you will see some insinuations of the sexual relationship between Eve and the serpent. Okay, now we're going onwards, okay? So maybe the Ha-Adam is deliberate. Okay, now it says that Ha-Adam, whoever this is, knew Eve. Again, you have this parallel between knowledge as a euphemism for sex. Okay, you saw this before earlier in Genesis 2 and 3. Okay, so the man knew his wife or knew his woman Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have produced Kaniti, a man with the help of the Lord. The other oddity is this word kaniti, I have produced. Okay, this is a weird way to describe the birth of a child. Now women conceive and bear children in the biblical text, and usually what happens is like there's like sometimes a praise song, sometimes there's a description of the name, but you don't ever get this I have produced this verb with a child. Okay, and so let's take a look at what kaniti means. And the reason why you don't get it with this verb with children is because kaniti means, okay, it's from kana. Okay, it means to produce, like as I've translated it, or it means to acquire or to buy something. Okay, again, an altogether weird way to describe a child. Okay. Now, certainly there is, as you can tell, some wordplay between Cain and Kaniti. Okay. Okay, perhaps. Okay. Now, okay. Some commentators read this weird verb Kaniti in relation to Cain. Okay, this way. They say, well, the reason why you have such a weird verb being used here is because this is a signal by the writer that already there was something off about Cain. Okay, that he was abnormal, he was not okay. This is a way that the writer is signaling that by the use of this strange word, okay, with this figure. Okay, now whether you agree with this or not, the blame for Cain's future violence, because we all know how it ends, okay, on his abnormality, maybe his parents' misdeed or faulty heredity, however you want to, adulterous affair. I like, we've heard these explanations before. We actually hear them now, which is very interesting. Okay. So, these echo modern interpretations of violence or misbehavior, where society blames someone's actions, especially violent ones, on, deficient upbringing, usually an unfit mother. Here again, the continuation of the blame on the mom. Mothers continue. Okay. Or maybe as a result of somebody's misdeed somehow. Okay. Whether true or not, whether you buy these explanations of human violence, okay, both of the text and outside the text, what they show is that interpreters had difficulties, still continue to have difficulties, to be honest, explicating and understanding human violence. Okay, they can't really explain what led Cain to kill his own brother, and going further, what still leads people to kill each other, even though we are all members of the same larger human family. By arguing that Cain is literally the seed of the devil, this question about our violent tendencies is mollified with a theological explanation. Okay? But notice how it's only mollified. It leaves the real question about violence still open and still unsettled. Okay? The narrative, because this is of course a very rich narrative, however, offers in the way that it tells the stories in the words themselves through wordplay, and there is wordplay all over the Hebrew Bible. Again, only accessible in the Hebrew. Okay, but in particular in the Cain and Abel narrative, especially this wordplay on their names. Okay, that also hint of other explanations of this first murder. Okay. So for example, like I said, kaniti can mean to purchase, okay? But kaniti, the way that Hebrew works is that you can start, Hebrew is based on 3-letter consonants, okay? Like I said, the vowels come in only later, okay? And what happens because of the way that Hebrew is formulated, you can really start word playing, things start sounding the same, okay? So what is Cain or, kana, okay, the sound, what does the sound mean? Okay, like I said, it seems to be related to buying or purchasing something. Okay, the word Cain also sounds like the word to be jealous, kana, okay, or envious of something, which is very fitting here. His name also sounds like the word to mourn or to wail or to sing a dirge, to lament, in essence. Okay. It also seems to sound wordplay with the word to subdue or oppress, to forcibly bring someone down. Okay. And lastly, Cain's name seems to sound like a riff on the word that's related to weapons and spears and lances and things that are pointy. Okay, and notice how all of this wordplay on Cain's name, how they kind of give different they kind of insinuate different explanations to explain the first murder. Okay, so and I'll go into that in a minute. Okay, so now we have Cain's name. What does Abel mean? Okay, Abel's name also has a meaning. Okay, we're told in chapter 4, verse 2. Next, she, that is Eve, bore his brother Abel, Hevel, okay, or Avel. Now, Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain a tiller of the ground. Okay, some people argue that Cain and Abel, because of how closely their births are described, may have been twins. Okay, but I don't know. Okay. Now, what does Abel's name mean? Hevel. Okay. And his name, interestingly, really is onomatopoeic, havel, okay? And it means vapor or mist or an exhalation or something that's fleeting, okay? Something that's breath-like, okay? So for example, in Ecclesiastes 1, the way that Ecclesiastes begins, okay? Usually translated famously, I believe in the King James as, or the New King James as vanity of vanities, okay? It's actually the same word, okay? Havel, havelim, okay? Or things that are fleeting, right? And of course, Ecclesiastes, if you read it, it's this very modern take about how kind of life is meaningless and so forth, okay? So Abel's name means vapor or mist or something that is fleeting, okay? It also sounds like the word avel, okay? Havel, avel, okay? Which means to mourn, to be desolate, to lament, okay? And both words, havel, avel, sound like, when we sigh or when we breathe or when we exhale. Okay. And of course, with Abel, the meanings of his name foreshadow what will happen to him. Okay. He really is a character judging by the names. This is very similar to Harry Potter. The names are very meaningful. Okay. Abel exists to just die. Okay. And really, in being that, Abel can be read, interestingly, as a symbol for all innocent people who only seem to exist in this world to be put to death. Okay. Just as Abel maybe exists to die in this narrative, so also Cain, as his name shows, maybe exists only to commit the first murder, the ultimate first crime. Okay. And remember, right? As the story of the first murder, okay, it's very, very, very important. Okay, a fancy word for that is that the story as the first is, functions as a kind of etiology, an origin tale. Okay, and so this tale is not just about one event, but about all the events, all the same event that goes forward. Okay, and it asks, like all good etiologies, it asks this question. Okay, in the center it has this question: why do humans murder each other though we're all related? Okay. As I said, Kaniti is weird. Okay, Cain's name has all these different wordplay that means all these various different things. So now let's put it together. Okay, especially in light of this question that the tale is asking: why do we kill each other? Okay, perhaps through the wordplay, the narrative is saying something like this: well, why do we kill each other? Right? Well, maybe it's because we are greedy. We want stuff. We're jealous. We're envious. Okay, we want to be first, or maybe we kill because we want stuff. We want to buy stuff. We want to purchase stuff. We want to acquire stuff, especially stuff that belongs to somebody else, even though they're part of our family. Or perhaps we kill each other because we think we're thieves of these things that we deserve unfairly. Okay, and that this jealousy or envy leads to fighting, violence, desire to subdue, the forging of weapons so that we can fight. And of course, what happens at the end? Well, at the end, there's only death and dissipation of someone's life. Okay, that is, it leads to treating one's brother or one's sister as if their lives are mist or vapor or vanities, which of course leads to laments and dirges. Okay. Notice how the wordplay, the meanings of these characters, the meanings of the names of these characters, how they can insinuate or hint or explain so much in so little a space. Okay. The story also suggests that we forget our relationship to each other because of divinely allowed or permitted or divinely created unfairness and inequity. Okay. And our anger about the role of God in upholding or allowing the continuation of this unfair universe. Okay, to find out more, go to the last video, where I will continue to explain the story of Cain and Abel.